And for retail workers, the traumatic events might be smaller, but they can seem constant or feel like it sometimes, especially with shoplifting incidents, angry customers, fights can break out, threats of violence, or just the unpredictability of what's going to happen today. This isn't just stress, it's hypervigilance. It's carrying your body in fight or flight mode day after day, shift after shift. Sorry. It's discontinued. Hi, you guys. Welcome back to another episode of Sorry, It's Discontinued. I'm Hilary, your host, and thank you for being here with me today. I desperately want to say, I'm so glad you're here. It's so hard not to say it. My mom always said it, and my dad says it. Anyway, I'm just so glad you're here, and welcome back. Welcome back to my fellow retail warriors, as I think we should all be called, and to the customers who keep us going. We are diving in, whether you're listening on your break or it's during your work commute. Even though a lot of these things that I want to talk about, I get really worked up. So today, I'm going to take a breath with you. And, whether you're having your coffee, you're stuck in rush hour, you're headed to work, or it's your day off, I want you to sit and enjoy this episode. But we are going to talk about something that just goes way beyond lipstick and fragrances, fashion, and it's retail and safety. How shopping and working in retail, it just doesn't feel safe anymore a lot of the times. Whether you're working behind the counter or you're just walking through a store to go pick something up, you're going to go shopping, which we all do. We are all struggling with feeling safe, and the challenge watching the news and seeing a lot of these stories, things that we've witnessed, experienced, regardless of the time of day, there is this underlying fear that a lot of us are carrying. And here's the part we don't usually say out loud, especially for the many of us who work in retail. That fear, it can be paralyzing, and it actually might be PTSD. So I'll be honest with you, I experience this. Whenever there's a loud noise in the store, when someone yells or even laughs too loud, my body, it just reacts instantly. I tense up, I get really scared, and I feel this instinct to just go run and run away. My body, it goes into flight mode. And it's not because I'm weak or I'm overreacting. You're safe. You're overreacting. It's fine. It's because my body remembers, and it remembers all these scary moments that have happened when I was working and the scary experiences that my friends have gone through as well. So it builds up and you remember it, not just emotionally, but physically. Our body remembers. I know I'm not the only one. I mean, how many of you feel this way who are working behind the counter right now? My friends working in stores, they tell me they feel the same way. They flinch at noises. You get that feeling in your stomach when someone raises their voice. We all stop what we're doing. Like you could be doing a makeover. You could be pulling, product or merchandise from anywhere in a store, and you hear loud noises and you just stop what you're doing because you're like, okay, what am I going to have to do? What's happening? Is everything okay? This is a shared experience in retail, and we don't talk about it enough. So today, we're going to talk about safety openly because it matters just as much as any product on the shelf. So the fragrance and beauty floor, it can feel wonderful, right? Truthfully, it's one of my happy places. I totally nerd out whenever I walk into a cosmetic and fragrance department, no matter where I am. It could be any fragrance or cosmetic department. And I walk in and I get that smell of different fragrances and, the Estee Lauder counter, or your Sicily, or just the fragrance and niche lines, or your classics. Truthfully, I'll just stop and I want to look at everything and I have no time, but I still want to look, even when I'm working. I'm like, squirrel, let me go over there. I want to touch and play. Anyway, but sadly, the fragrance and cosmetic floor, I personally can feel like it's one of the most targeted and risky places to work in retail. So, according to the National Retail Federation, the last confirmed shrinkage, and that's loss of inventory or assets that could be in stock, are missing or damaged, otherwise unaccounted for. So, shrinkage. The figure that they have is from 2022. That was the last confirmed figure that I could find. You might find something else, but it was about 112 billion with a B, in losses across U.S. retailers. And that included everything. So theft, fraud, mistakes or errors, and damages, right? So for 2023 and 2024, they didn't release a total shrinkage number, but their latest report, this was kind of crazy. It shows a huge jump in theft trends. Shoplifting incidents were up 93% since 2019. 93%. And the dollar losses tied to shoplifting were up 90%. So let's think about that. So one estimate put shoplifting losses alone at around 45 billion with a B, in 2024. So even without a fresh total number, the direction's pretty clear. Retail shrinkage is climbing, and beauty and fragrance continue to be some of the top targets. So here's a story. In the DC suburbs, a group stole nearly 190,000 in fragrances from Ulta before being caught just this past March 2025. That is a lot. That is a lot of money in fragrances from Ulta. Ulta has some beautiful fragrances. They might carry some of the niche lines as well. The more pricier bottles, you're looking at what, like a 50 ml, maybe 300, 400, 100 milliliter, $400. But can you imagine most of their fragrances, probably a 3.4 ounce would be an average, what, like $165? That's a lot of bottles of fragrance from Ulta. And Ultas are everywhere. They have their independent stores, their inside stores. So I found that so fascinating. In Brookfield, Wisconsin, one thief walked out with $900 worth of testers stuffed into a backpack. Okay, so this brought up something that is extremely common for me and a lot of my friends. I've experienced it, witnessed it. Tester theft, you see almost consistently every day in high-end stores. So a lot of us are working behind the counter and we're selling fragrance for some of the more popular fragrance lines, right? Some stores, they have their bottles out so you can experience the fragrance. But thieves are looking for new testers placed on units and they throw them in their pockets, they throw them in their bags. There was one guy who was wearing a parka, and then when I get back to the counter, there was a couple testers missing. Sadly, anyone can do it. A lot of these stores, they're trying their best to manage this loss by gluing testers onto the units, or they attach them to some sort of wire-like mechanism, and that is attached to the shelf. So luxurious. I really want to try this beautiful $400 fragrance. Let me pull it up. Oh, wait, it's stuck to the counter because some goober wants to steal it. The brands that are selling these beautiful fragrances, part of the selling experience is showing the fragrance as a piece of high luxury. But how do you do that when it's glued down or attached to a wire? It's not very elevated. And then the customers, they pay the price. They're missing this part of the selling ceremony. And most of these niche fragrance lines, they train their sales advisors on selling ceremony that's really beautiful. It's how to show this beautiful piece of fragrance and the story behind it, how you connect it to the creator of that fragrance, to the brand, to what inspired it. And you're creating all of these moments, and you can't even take the tester off the unit to show it to a customer. Some brands and some stores, you can hide them in your counter or put them in a place that's not accessible. It's not always easy to do either. Everybody is just doing the best they can. But how do we minimize this loss when it's happening so often? You throw in the fact that you work for a line that is limited to little to no testers, you guys. So how do you guys deal with this at your stores? I've seen it in many different ways. And as much as I hate the testers that are attached to the wire that's glued or screwed to the counter or shelf, I think that that's kind of the best way that I've seen it where you can still pick up the bottle. So here in Houston, I believe this just happened recently. Something called Operation Blitz. They uncovered theft rings that stole tens of thousands from Sephora, including a mother and daughter team that are accused of taking over $30,000 in merchandise. That's a lot. That's money out of the store, the sales advisors, that's out of their check. You can't sell it if you don't have it. And what about stock, getting stock into the store? So now you have to wait until more stock comes in to replace what you've lost. I've spoken about stock and how that's so challenging. So then there's moments that you've witnessed yourself. So I may or may not have once watched a thief rush into a store I was working at, rushed in with a garbage bag, may or may not have seen this person shoving fragrance boxes inside the bag, all in seconds. The whole store, customers, associates, including myself, were kind of frozen. It was very busy, but there was kind of this uneasy tension, and you realize you're so vulnerable in this situation. And it happened during the day when we were so busy, which is probably one of the reasons it was done at that time, if you think about it. But this is happening a lot more consistently. My friend reached out to me, and he works in a beauty boutique, one of those stores you just walk in off the street. And he said he literally had stopped someone from walking out of the store with almost $4,000 worth of fragrance, live merchandise. So not just testers, but actual merchandise in their bag. This is just becoming more and more common. Has this happened to you guys? Have you experienced this? So many experts, they're describing what's going on right now, a retail crime wave. And security, they can only do so much. They're told not to put staff, customers, themselves in danger. One wrong decision, it can lead to a lawsuit or even termination. I mean, that just sucks. So you're left with this helpless feeling. It's not just a financial loss. It's kind of an emotional weight that we carry daily when we go into work. It's always kind of in the back of your mind, when you're working in these stores. And it doesn't matter what store you're working at nowadays. It really doesn't. It's not just fragrances. I know we've heard these stories too. Luxury goods are some of the hottest targets. In New York, a boutique, which I love this name so much, a boutique called Lola Saratoga. I mean, how much it needs to be a name of a club. Lola Saratoga. Anyway, Lola Saratoga was hit in New York with a smash and grab. Thousands of handbags gone in seconds. Even high-profile people aren't immune. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, you've probably seen this in the news, her $4,400 Gucci purse stolen in D.C. I mean, how freaking scary. I think it happened in a restaurant. And in Los Angeles, Birkin bags. They have become criminal currency. We've all heard it. Celebrities getting robbed, things being ripped off from their homes. Shouldn't happen to anybody. And these Birkins, they're stolen from homes because reselling them brings in tens of thousands on the black market. Shame on anybody who's buying handbags, Birkins on the black market. That's so messed up. Anyway, that's my mom advice coming out. In Manhattan, the Diamond District, a pawn shop owner was caught fencing stolen luxury goods, which means he knowingly resold items that were from theft rings. Police recovered over $2.5 million. $2.5 million worth of handbags and jewelry that were intentionally stolen, of course, and he knowingly was selling them. So who pays for all of this? So once a man actually, personal story, distracted me with small talk, talking about fragrance. I was sharing notes and, creating this nice experience for him. Well, his friends were actually stealing fragrance. And I was so caught up because he kept asking me questions, surprise, surprise. I'll be so focused. And I totally missed it. Security actually had to call me and be like, hey, Hilary, do you know they just totally ripped you off? I was like, oh, great. That's so nice. Okay. Another time, I witnessed a loud confrontation. So this confrontation happened middle of the day, kind of late afternoon, and this person was yelling, knocking things over. It was very busy. Security and police, they were going after them, and it was a kind of a chase scene. It was really scary. Did I say it was scary? Yeah, I've never forgotten it. And that loud confrontation, it was completely staged. I was so focused on, is this dangerous? And I had a mom in front of me with a little baby, oh, the sweetest little baby, in a stroller. And I was so concerned with their safety. Like, what am I going to do? How are we going to get out? You got to come inside. Come into the boutique. It was just so intense. And meanwhile, it was all bullshit because they were actually distracting so a bunch of people could steal things from a different department. Quietly, apparently. That's distraction theft. It happens a lot. It's very strategic and very chaotic. And usually these are thieves that are experts in their field, But it leaves employees shaken, like myself, long after the merchandise is gone. That feeling, that worry, that fear, it's still there. And I'm sure it is stuck with the woman who was with her child that day and all the other people that were scared and not knowing what was going on. I want to talk about how theft, of course, it can go very extreme and it can happen very fast, just like that, I'm sorry, I had to do it. It was just kind of fun because of the microphone and everything. But it's when theft turns extreme so fast. Okay, so right here in Houston at the Galleria, this past June 2025, just recently, a suspected shoplifter tried to escape police by leaping off the second floor balcony onto the ice skating rink. You can look up this news or probably a YouTube video, but really cover your eyes. It's just not fun to look at. Thankfully, he survived, but with broken legs and serious charges, of course. But for those of us who shop or work in these stores, can you imagine the people that were working in that store that day? One incident, it shifts the entire energy of the mall. People watch the news. They get scared. I know the Houston Police Department and law enforcement, mall security, they are doing the best they can. It is a huge city. And all of the other cities and all of the other places and we've seen everything that's going on with DC. But personally, when things like this happen in your workplace, you just can't forget it. So you're always kind of thinking about those moments. They're in the back of your mind. This leads me to our next topic. We're going to take a little break, but I really want to talk about PTSD in retail and the invisible weight of the things that we experience and the things that we worry about. I want to get into PTSD in retail. I know when we say PTSD, you think war veterans, combat, but that's not the case. It comes from repeated exposure to unsafe situations. So for retail workers, that can mean shoplifting, aggressive customers, fights, threats, constant unpredictability, and the fear that can come with busy environments, loud noises. Tensing up when a voice rises, that's trauma in the body. I don't know if you knew that. There's a loud noise. Instantly, I don't feel so safe. I'm a little scared. I really want to go and run to my car and go home. That's trauma, y'all. And it's okay to talk about it. Because these feelings in our bodies, these feelings in our mind, well, not feelings in our mind, the thoughts in our mind, that's actual valid experiences. It's okay to feel what you're feeling, you know? You're allowed to feel that way, and you are allowed to talk about it. The National Institute of Mental Health, it defines PTSD as ongoing hypervigilance from traumatic stressors. So for us, that means walking into a shift every day, and you're already kind of bracing yourself. I mean, after the morning meeting, but yet most companies, not all companies are created equal. A lot of companies don't really acknowledge it. They'll hand us the theft prevention module, but never really mention mental health and how it impacts us when these moments happen. A lot of times they want to just kind of brush it under the rug. We got to keep going. We've got to hit this goal. We've got to make sure our points event or gift cards or whatever it is, it's happening in the store or get your credits. Everybody does their job. But meanwhile, the associates, we are walking around. I mean, they don't call us retail warriors for nothing. We're walking around the sales floor carrying these invisible scars. I mean, it sounds so dramatic. Like, oh, invisible scars, Hilary. What are you saying? When your body tenses up over a loud noise, that's an invisible scar. When somebody starts yelling, even if they're not yelling at you, but they're yelling at your coworker, that's trauma. So no, I'm not being dramatic. I'm just speaking out about what we should talk about. And I want you guys really to look at it to where we can support each other. If you see your friend struggling or there's somebody saying things or doing things and you're seeing them dealing with kind of an asshole, call security, protect each other. So all right. I want to get into part nobody really sees. So it's the getting to and from the store. Whenever you pull into a garage or whenever I pull into a garage, because a lot of times there's a garage involved. Sometimes if you're lucky, it's like a lot of space and it's not very busy because it's like early in the morning or what have you. But the fun part is when everyone's there and they're all circling, drivers are getting aggressive. And yes, sometimes it even escalates to fighting. Isn't it so fun when they fight? Just puts you in a great mood. We see people, they're yelling and they're blocking each other. They're blocking their parking spots. In extreme cases, weapons are being pulled out. Thankfully, law enforcement, they're like watching a lot of these things and protecting us. And there's more security in garages and cameras and all of that stuff because I don't want you to stop shopping. But it is a reality of this time. So you're seeing all of this happening, and especially when you leave at night. So police will tell you park in well-lit areas. Always have your keys in your hand. Avoid distractions. Good advice, but you can't always park in well-lit areas, especially if you're closing that night. Or there's hardly any parking spots and you have to park feels like a mile away. So the tension of walking alone in a place that can be very scary, very dark, your body doesn't forget that either. That's buildable trauma. It's not just garages. Walking through a mall at night, or if you're the only closer in a small boutique or a small store, and you can't always walk with somebody or buddy up. So being protective or protecting yourself, your head up, pace is strong. You look determined. Like, you're gonna mess with me? I'm gonna kick your ass. You got to be like, really like, what? Because then they're not gonna really want to mess with you because then you look crazy, which I'm all for crazy when you're walking by yourself. No headphones, no AirPods. This is my mom, Hilary, coming in. You gotta be smart, y'all. Really. Protect yourself. Now, when you're walking from a store and you're carrying branded shopping bags, right? You almost feel like you have a target. So that luxury moment of buying the lipstick or the fragrance or the handbag, somebody spots that because they do look. People could be looking. It's not paranoia. It's just being aware of your surroundings. So the smart thing is have an extra reusable bag and just keep them with you. If you've had a really great shopping experience, then ask for help. Ask the store. Ask them to walk you to your car. Ask them to call security. Don't be embarrassed to ask. I love walking people to their car. I'm not going to lie. I really do love it. That's not an exaggeration because it gets me out of the store. Gives me a little break. Yeah. You want me to walk your bags with you? Yeah. Come on, Tina, let's go. Let me help you. I'll carry them all. If you've had a great shopping experience, you've got a bunch of bags, the store is going to want to support you because if they don't, shame on them, right? Come on. Okay, so we've talked about PTSD, trauma, theft, parking garages, safety. So we're talking about all of these things. I do want to talk about how we can make a difference, right? Let's talk about solutions. Theft is real. PTSD, oh yeah, it's happening. It's real. You might even have it. Parking garage fear, real. So what can we do as workers, communities, to make retail feel safe? I know stores are trying to be better. I think, I hope, I pray, trying to be better training, clear protocols, better communication. I hate secrets, but I think there is a lot of secrets being kept because they think it'll keep the store safer or they don't want to cause panic and turn people away. But I think what that does is when people don't know, it turns them away even more. When you're visible and you do create clear protocol, you're more transparent, it makes people feel safer because they're not walking into something unknown, right? At least that's how I feel. But what I really think is we need a culture shift in terms of safety and retail. It can't just be a handbook anymore. It can't just be a module anymore. It has to be part of the daily conversation so we can all kind of handle this emotional stress partnered together. So imagine if stores, and maybe they've done this, if they have, awesome. But what if they partnered with local law enforcement? What if there is a community neighborhood watch situation for retail? Not just when something goes wrong, but something proactively, not just every 12 months. It's kind of a regular check-in. Like, here's John from your local community law enforcement. He wants to come by and say hi to everybody. How are you feeling? How's it going where you're parking? What if there was a retail neighborhood watch party where stores are in the same mall, the shopping center? There was one magical night and they did it twice a year where all the stores, they're open anyway, have a community retail neighbor watch, where some of the people in some departments of some areas of the store, they could go and check in with each other, share phone numbers. I am not a police officer. I am not a manager. I do not work in corporate. This is my personal opinion. But I don't think that being quiet and keeping things secret keeps people safe. Of course, we don't want to give out really important information, but checking in like a retail neighborhood watch? Why not? Another option, workers need more training that goes beyond observe and report. We need practical tools for de-escalation, your instructions about what to do when to step back, and most importantly, what kind of support we can get afterwards. Community therapy, they could send somebody in. Maybe there are things that you guys are doing or stores are doing that I don't realize, but I feel like it can go a little bit further, or even just check in with each other after a scary shift. It makes a difference. Then you don't feel so alone and you don't feel crazy. not to stir up more scary stories. We don't want a game of telephone, but you should feel comfortable enough to talk about it. Safety, it's not just the job of one associate or one security guard or just the police. It is literally a community effort. Stores, workers, managers, and even customers. We really need to have that peace of mind, safety in numbers, right? All right, let's take a music break. And when we get back, I want to talk about what you want to talk about. I know what you're thinking. Are you thinking? Extreme weather. Yeah, safety and work colliding. Extreme weather, y'all. All right, I'll see you in a minute. Let's get real. Working in retail, especially in Houston, it means weather. It is not just a forecast. It can sometimes feel, literally, I know for myself it has, a life or death decision. I mean, it is stressful. Hurricanes, floods, freezes, you name it, we've worked through it. And far too often, retail systems expect you to still show up, regardless of the danger. You're waiting for that email or the text from your manager. You literally have to be there at 9:30. You haven't heard anything, and it's like 9. Oh, it sucks. And you're like, shit, this storm does not look good. They're saying to not get out of the house. They're saying don't get on the roads. But my store, they have not decided to close. And at that point, you know that they're going to stay open because usually they give people 45 minutes or an hour, maybe if you're lucky, to decide whether you're going to get your ass in the car and drive to work. So regardless if there is danger, the store will open. I feel like it's connected to safety. I know it's not theft, but we have to talk about the weather and the stress that comes up when weather turns bad. So employees forced to make impossible decisions. Okay, so should I drive through flooded streets? Should I stay home? Do I stay with my kids who have no school because the school closed? Do I risk losing my pay or even my job because I have no PTO left? I have no emergency days off or any of that. That stress, it does not vanish after a shift ends. It digs deep. I still carry that. Whenever there's a storm, oh my gosh, do I go to work? They're going to be so disappointed. It's the guilt too and the shame. Just beating yourself up. Then you do it the whole time you're driving there in the pouring rain, or it's just cold and you're afraid your car's going to hydroplane or get caught in a black ice patch. So Texas law, it doesn't protect non-exempt workers who skip work due to weather. They only get paid if they clock in. Now, I think we all might want to consider moving to Spain. They've passed a paid climate leave law. You get up to 4 fully paid days when authorities issue weather alerts. So no one has to risk their life just to pay rent, at least for 4 days. Meanwhile, U.S. retailers are lasered focused on the bottom line. Of course, it's a business. It can mean trimming benefits or cutting back support to save costs. But then you have to keep in mind the higher the turnover rate for when they're not supporting their employees and not being understanding if an associate is too scared to go to work or they really can't. The turnover, when they lose people, it's expensive. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, retail has one of the highest turn rates. About 4% of the workforce turns over every month. They estimate the average cost of hiring at around $4,700. Other studies put replacement costs for hourly staff at about $1,500 or more. So here's the irony. Supporting staff through safe weather policies, strong benefits, and real backup, it doesn't just protect lives. It actually saves the company money when you keep your employees happy and you have a very low turnover rate. You support your associates instead of constantly rehiring and retraining. A 2025 benefits survey, it found that more than half of large U.S. companies plan to shift more healthcare costs to workers by 2026. Think about that. A lot of the mental health support, just health, physical, all of the good stuff. It's short-term cost savings, but it's going to cost at the expense of long-term stability for their people. So when a storm hits and stores stay open, employees aren't just facing rain or ice, they're facing a system that values the bottom line over their well-being. And at least that's how it feels, right? Okay, that's PTSD level stress. It's layered on top of every unsafe shift, every theft, every tense walkthrough through a garage. It builds up. Safety has to include climate, disasters, and basic respect for workers' well-being. It's all together, right? Do you know that working in all these stores and all these years, I really don't come by a lot of people that tell me that they don't like their job. They will tell me that they love their job. And if these stores supported their associates, gave them the support with mental health, with hours, but they weren't overspent, they had a balance. Can you imagine how much money these stores would make because associates had the energy? They felt safe. They felt appreciated. You'd make so much money and you don't even see it. And I know that I'm not in corporate, that I might be oblivious. But I have to tell you, at the end of the day, when there's a client in front of me and we are hitting it off and I'm showing them things that I believe in and I feel good about my job and they feel good about trusting me, they usually want to buy it all because the whole thing, it's the experience. All right, you guys. My retail warriors, what do we do with all of this, right? No one should have to feel anxious just walking into a store or heading to their car with shopping bags in their hand. Treat yourself. You should have every right. So yes, theft, storms, parking garages, they are challenges. But the bigger truth is when we speak about it, when we support each other, when we speak up, that's when we make safety a priority. And we all win. So if people start staying home out of fear, thieves win. You have to keep shopping. You have to. And me too, because I love to shop. And retail, as we know it, it'll suffer. And it's already changing so much. So this community of retail warriors, customers, we're in it together. That's why safety, it's not just about us behind the counter. It's about protecting the experience for everyone that's walking through those doors. It's not about the product. It's about the people. What do you guys think? Safety. We all deserve it, right? I hope you have a seat with me next week. I appreciate you all, retail warriors, my fellow customers. I love you guys. Have a wonderful, safe week. Look out for each other. And thank you so much for joining me on Sorry, It's Discontinued. I'm Hilary. Bye. Thank you so much for spending time with me behind the counter today. If you enjoyed this episode, follow Sorry, It's Discontinued on your favorite podcast app. Leave a quick rating or review. It really helps our retail family and fellow customers find the show. You can also connect with me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Sorry, It's Discontinued. And if you have your own behind the counter story, a discontinued product heartbreak, your retail industry confession, send it my way. Your story, it might be featured in a future episode. You can send me a message at sorryitsdiscontinued.com. Now, this podcast, it's independently produced and is not affiliated with any brands or companies mentioned. All stories and opinions shared are personal, reflecting the real-life experiences of those who've worked in this industry with heart and hustle. Thank you for being here. And remember, as cheesy as it sounds, a smile can really brighten someone's day. Honestly, whether you're behind the counter or shopping in front of it. Okay, see you next time. Bye. Sorry. It's discontinued.